Namaste everyone. Very warm welcome to Satsang this morning. Sadhguru Sri Muji Baba ki Jai. We just are here. You are here. All effort is imagined. For effort to want to get somewhere, you have to take a position. The concept has to come. The idea has to come. I must find freedom. I must do something. I must become a better person. I must be whatever. But without that, what are you now? That is why this is like the pathless path. And this is why it is frustrating for some, but joyous for others. Because many are looking for a path, like some way to get there. What this is to show you that there is nowhere to get. If your presence, if your existence, if your being needed some getting to, if we had to walk 100 miles for God to be here, then we would say, yes, we need a path. But if God is here, and like I say, if the God is a God where you need to walk 100 miles to get to it, then it's a pointless God. If God cannot be here all the time effortlessly, then what kind of God would that be? So we are finding that which is effortlessly present. What is here without judgment, without interpretation, without any knowledge or understanding? If you need a concept to become that, let's take an example. Suppose I say, there is only the self. Forget about all other concepts. Someone can come so innocently into satsang and say, Father, you said there is only the self, forget about everything else. Done. Then I say, okay, forget about that concept, also that there is only the self. That's a bit cheeky because I need something to hang on to. So that's why these very simple concepts have been given. Tat Tvamasi, you are that. I am that. Only Brahman is. Only the self is. So these very simple concepts have been given, and you can hang everything else on this because everything else is subservient to this. What does it matter? What do I have to do next? If only God is, if only the self is. What does it matter what my bank account is, if only the self is? The self will take care of itself in whatever way it wants. So in satsang, we find some pointers like this, some direction like this, some instruction like this. But ultimately, even that is dropped away. Bhagavan had this beautiful example. of using a stick to burn the funeral pyre. But the stick is not left outside, it is also thrown into the fire. Everything is burnt. This is what I've been calling recently your notionless existence. Okay? And this can feel a bit naked. Okay? You can feel like I have no defenses. Okay? And some fear can come. Some fear can come. So then the mind will offer you, no, this is too much for me, too much for me. Give me something that I can hold on to. Now, you can hold on to the Sadguru's feet, but don't hold on to any concept. Ultimately, even the Sadguru's feet is a concept. But for a while, you will find some peace there. If there is fear in response, sometimes there is joy in response. Ah, just, there is no separation. All this is just being perceived within me. What am I? Oh. I was saying joy itself was saying about joy the other day. And it's very enjoyable. But then a notion can come, say, this joy is the proof of your freedom. No, it is just another byproduct. No proof of your freedom is actually needed. Whether it is fear or it is joy, at least this kind of the joy of presence, almost. It's incomparable to the usual objective joy, like the joy of having a very nice coconut. Is it? That is a different joy. There is some joy in tasting the sweet water, yes, agree. But the joy of your being, of presence, of your existence, is a beautiful joy. But there is an even deeper joy. Because even if you are experiencing this joy all the time, there comes a time where you're done with it and you say, I want to go to sleep. No experience, even this most beautiful joy, is enough. No matter what you are tasting in this world, it is the most beautiful music. Objective joy, that is the taste. It could be sound, it could be visual, sight. Then it could be a joy which is just within, arising with your own presence. But even that, when you're done with the experience of all perception, there comes this sleep. Now the joy there is not a tangible, you cannot say, oh, I went to sleep. That itself conveys, I had a very nice sleep last night. Does it convey that it was a suffering experience or a joyful experience? Joyful. And yet can you say, oh, you tasted some joy? See, this is beyond the concept of perceptual joy, tasted joy. And yet, this is the Brahmanandam, the joy of the self itself. So this joy is not a tangible, not a held on to joy. It is your very originality. It is the fragrance of your truth. It is ever present. This awareness. You can never say that it is suffering. Yesterday I was asking, I don't know whether you saw, how many of you see that nothing has ever happened to awareness?
It's happened.
Never happened to, nothing has ever happened to awareness. Awareness.
Awareness.
Then how come you feel that something has happened to you? So there must be a belief that I am something other than the self, something other than this primal witnessing. That's why in the Upanishads they say, just be the witness. But even that has been misunderstood. That I personally must be the witness. So I'd rather say you are the witnessing, you can't help it. If you wanted to leave yourself, you couldn't. Very simple things to say. But if you look at the world and you find that everyone is looking for themselves in some way or the other. They might be apparently looking for money. They might be apparently looking for partner. They might be apparently looking for better body, but they're actually looking for themselves. Because they say, what? I will be more complete if I get my perfect partner. You want that completion. So everyone is looking for themselves, looking for the self. But I say, where did you lose it? If you were not the self right now, then I would say, okay, let's go looking for it. The thing with the self is you can't even leave it. It's just that we might have picked up along the way, like we picked up a wrong idea about what I am. We picked up the idea that I am just this body, or I am just this body and this mind. You might have also picked up the idea about the self, an idea about God. And yet, what is your greatest idea about God? It's ever present. No? Nobody says, I believe in a God who comes and goes. So if it is ever present, where must it be now? That which is ever present, can it not be here now? If it is here now, where must we go look for it? And as I'm using the terminology, I'm using God, Guru, Self, in this discussion at least, interchangeably. So don't worry about the terminology so much. Now, will you find it if you go with your thoughts saying, yes, little more this, little more that, little more clear seeing, I'm not worthy yet, all of this. Can it be true that the ever-present one can be lost just because your mind says it is lost? And it has to be found. Must you have to take a step to go anywhere to find that which is ever-present? What are you now? If you needed a notion to become God, a concept to become God, even the concept of God to become God, then God would not be ever present. So then what happened? If it is so simple, if it is so obvious, what has happened? How is it that we keep searching and searching and searching? A simple example is coming to me. In the morning aarti that we do now, there is, what is the line? Gochar? No, they are Gochar. But before that, right in the beginning, Om Jai Jagadish Hare. भक्त जनों के संकट क्षण में दूर करें. It means in a moment, all those who are devoted to you, you can take away all their suffering. Rough translation. In a moment, in an instant, all that we suffer from as your devotees, you can take away. Now, we have grown up with the next line being first it starts with Bhakt Jano ke Sankat, then next line is Das Jano ke Sankat, which is almost synonymous. You see? So now we've been doing this Aarti for quite some time. And what happens every time we finish Bhakti Jano ke Sankat, I still hear somebody saying Das Jano ke Sankat. Although we know very well. And here also it comes. You see? So this is the power of conditioning. We have repeated something over and over again. That you are a body, this is your hand, this is your life, you must work hard, you must find the right partner, you must, you see, the I has been stuck with this limited identity for so long that although we are seeing the truth about ourselves, we are finding what we are. It is just like the power of this conditioning. This is continuing to play out. And that is why we have satsang every day, Monday to Friday, every day. Because I know that in a day you could pick up new conditioning. You see, you could go completely notionless from here. Or tomorrow you can come back and say, Father, I left satsang and then this happened, he did this to me or she did that to me and then this thing happened. And then we sit in satsang for 2 hours every day and say, me who? Me, no me, Father. You see, by the end, it's like all of this are just appearances on the screen of my being. You might leave from here, and yet the power of the old conditioning can come back. This is the design of this creation. This habit is like that. As our Guruji says, that satsang is the rehab. Rehab for who? Rehab for God. From what? From this idea that I am a limited entity. From the idea of the ego. Who is running the rehab? God is. For who? For God. Because there is only God. So God decided to play this game of being an individual, ego. It wanted to taste itself in a limited form. It got, jokingly, we can say, it got tired of being the unlimited. This is true. Where's the excitement in this? I can't be hurt. There is nobody other than me. What's the, where's the excitement? I need some drama in my life. Then God said, okay, I will play all of these beings and enjoy the taste of playing limited. And then says, enough. Done. What am I? So, but even the coming to this, it doesn't want an abrupt end to this movie. It doesn't want the novel to end suddenly. Like, okay, I'm coming to my godliness again. I'm dropping the notion, so many notions. Okay, whatever it might be, since you started coming to satsang, a large percentage of the notions must be dropped. You see? I'm sure there could be some that still stick around. It's okay, the sticky ones can still be there for some time. But I don't feel really. You might even have picked up new ones, satsang notions. You see? But at least this much must be there that if you come openly for some time, many of your notions that you carried when you came in are not there now. At least this much has to be there. So then, just to come to this notionless existence, God is dropping. Now, for some, it happens one splat. Like Bhagwan had this at 14-year-old or 16-year-old. He had this experience where he felt like he's dying, and he said, "If I die, I want to be there to experience it. So let me lie down and see what actually happens." And in seeing that, in the openness to the death experience, it is the same thing. What I say, the fear of the unknown. It's like the wobbly, conceptless, notionless existence. It initially can seem a bit wobbly. But if you just say, okay, let me see what happens if I just go through this, then you will see the wobbliness is no big deal for you. Okay? But in going through that, some like Bhagwan, they say all of this conditioning was dropped. But even then, what happened in Bhagwan's life? For many years he remained in silence. That marination, what Guruji talks about. Okay? So even to come to that notionless existence then can seem like, what is there to speak? what words are needed. And then consciousness itself puts words into that one's mouth, saying that, okay, it's done in this expression, but then I want to play as other expressions coming to this expression. You see, to hear what happened to you. I just dropped all my concepts about myself. But what does that mean? What are you believing about yourself? Who am I? Ask yourself. Bhagavan said, who am I? Is it true that you are who you claim to be? That is the question, who am I? Is there truth to this notion that you might be carrying about yourself, that you are the body, that you are the mind? In asking who am I, what happens? All these concepts that you picked up about yourself are dropped away. And many come crying in satsang saying, I just don't know. This is so sad, I don't know. And I feel so happy because you don't know means you are empty of concept about yourself. You see, this is not bad news. It is only again the conditioning we've been taught in school. You must know this, be prepared for your exam. Your parents say what you got in your report card. You see, so if you say in my report card I got a I don't know, it feels like it's the worst news. But it is very good news. Actually, don't even know whether you know or not. You see, that empty, motionlessly. And the fact is that even to come and report that you don't know, something brings you to satsang. There is a supreme intelligence which knows the way how to log into Zoom and how to come to the house. So life continues to function in one way or the other. So that which needs to be known, that which needs, what consciousness needs to run this life, is already with consciousness. Consciousness does not need the aid of thoughts. And God is saying, I don't know what the next scene should have. You have some thoughts on it? We do. But does it go according to those thoughts? Then what is the point of this plan? Guruji says, the way to make God laugh is to tell him your plans. There is no use for any notion. It is only if we consider ourselves to be something which is limited, then we feel like I need some advice from this inner guide, posing to be a guide, but the voice of our individuality. So first you put on the mask that I haven't got it. Please take me to freedom. So the one with the mask, nobody can take to freedom. All I can say is this true? Are you really who you claim yourself to be? Is your pretense of being the body, is it true? And you have experienced millions of bodies. So you don't have to hide that under the carpet or something.
One doubt.
Yes.
The thoughts that come up are coming up only because of past conditioning.
One thing that will help you a lot is if you forget about cause and effect. Yeah? For all things, there is only one cause, which is consciousness. And their effect is also felt only within consciousness. Now, what we can say is that usually, from experience, I can say that the sun comes out from the east. Every day when I check, it has come out from the east. So I can say, okay, with some authority, okay, tomorrow also it will come from the east. But do we really know? Really, really know? So nothing can be truly said because consciousness is completely free. So you could say yes. From experience, you can say that these thoughts come as a result of all this past conditioning, and you can put it into various buckets of prarabdha and this and that. You see? It doesn't really matter. The fact is that nothing moves without the will of consciousness. If consciousness wants, if the consciousness wants to play through Soumya, as Soumya for 10,000 more years, consciousness will play as Soumya for 10,000 more years. And it will keep providing Soumya thoughts. If consciousness is done with the play of Soumya, it is done with the play of Soumya. So apparently, because you come regularly to Satsang, I can say that it looks like the aspect of consciousness playing as Soumya right now is done with the limited existence. You see, there must be at least some resonance to this. Otherwise, Satsang would sound like torture. If it is contrary to what your heart is longing for, then it'll just be like, what am I doing here? This is like, I want to become a better Soumya. And he keeps telling me that you're not Soumya. You see, if it is constantly this battle, then you could not continue to be in this kind of direct satsang. So, therefore, there must be something which is done with this play. And yet, the mind will keep coming with offerings of what if you could play as Soumya, but this version, Soumya 2.0, 2.0, Soumya 3.0. The mind keeps coming up with offers for better and better person. If you could only understand this, if you could only get this, then you could become better at it. If you only knew how to engage with the people in your life, then you could become a better. You see? If only whatever the offering could be. You see? But all referring to you as what? As the unlimited self? Nothing. You see? So there must be something which is done with the play of the limited self, which which creates this for you.
The mind always has this clause saying, not if all thoughts are not generated by preconditioning, then you have to listen. You have to pay attention. It's like
Yes, but in every you, the you that has to pay attention, can you find it? It's just an idea, you see. So when I say don't believe your next thought, you see,
yes.
It is not because the thought itself might be phenomenally depicting something which is untrue. If it is saying the coconut is green, it's fine. You see, but in all thoughts, the root of it is the premise that there is a limited me.
Yes.
What is the meaning of the green coconut for you? What is the meaning of the thoughts being this way or that way for you? And what is premised in that is that there is a limited Soumya still. You see, that's why we call the mind a trickster. It's very well designed. Consciousness is designed it after all. So it is uh, not, not going to be such a thing that you just see that what the mind is saying about you is not true. Done, boom. So it is designed, so it will say, okay, but what about this? What if I could give you a life like this? What if you would become like this? What if you could become like that? You see, it tries so many different poses before it can see that I am none of this. That's why Nachiketa's question was very good. Whatever you offer me, Yamraj, can it survive death? Basically saying, can it survive you? You see, so Yamraj is saying, I'll give you a great palace, I'll give you hundreds of beautiful partners, I'll give you pest, money, your body will be so without disease, but will it survive death? What is the point? If, when we look back at our lives, the last 40 years, whatever amount of life there has been, you look back and you say it's actually been a blink of an eye, isn't it? So if I live for another 100 years, ultimately it is gone. What will survive that? What will survive death? Tell me about that. So what does the mind have to offer for that? There's some concept. The soul will survive. This will survive. The concept. But when push comes to shove, concepts don't help. It has to become our insight. We might have mucked up the entire Vedanta, all the 108 Upanishads at least, and the Bhagavad Gita and the Brahma Sutra, you have learned all of it. You could be a Pandit in Vedanta. And but if your wife comes and fights with you, you will still suffer. Because just conceptual knowledge does not help. It must become our living insight that I am this self. I am not a limited entity. The body is not my container. The mind is not speaking about the reality of me. It is speaking about a tiny aspect of me. That aspect of consciousness which is playing as this particular character. But I am the screen for this movie. I am the light of the projector. I am the director, the script writer, the everything. All is experience within me. Now, how to find that? Ask yourself who you are. The minute you presume something about yourself, then there is a lot of space for doubt. All confusion is about I, isn't it?
Father, when you ask and then the mind supplies the answer, it feels so weird and horrible, and so you want to stop asking because mind is so quick in answering.
Yeah.
How do you?
Yeah, but you don't have to have an aversion to the mind.
No, the answer comes so quick and so
Yeah,
like
it always
concept,
speaks for
and it is not real, and it feels horrible, or you just don't want to engage in anymore.
When the kids were small, they go through this age. You remember? They go through this age. You're sitting with your friends, and anything your friends are saying, they want to be the first to respond. Do you have that phase? No.
Yeah.
So like that. You see, so the mind is like that. It feels like, okay, I can tell you, I can tell you, I can tell you. You see? So, but it's okay. Let it speak. So, they come and go. That is why I say it is just providing inferences. It is just providing judgments. What is your insight about yourself? Don't resist the mind or fight the mind, or even who is making a judgment about the mind? It's also the mind. The mind is horrible. Is whose
No,
voice?
it's not because it's not an experience. It feels empty. The concepts feel empty.
Yeah.
And you don't want to engage anymore.
Yes.
And so that's where it stops. Yes. The inquiry stops.
Okay, so take an example of all of these things. Suppose the inquiry was, who am I?
Yes.
Then?
And immediately
the mind is like, what is all this? What's the point?
No concepts will come saying, I'm awareness.
Okay.
But that is just words. I mean, they're just concepts.
Okay. So this is coming, the thought is coming, I am awareness. What witnesses this thought? This is self-inquiry 101. No?
I'm just listening.
So what happens is that, what does Bhagavan say? When we start the inquiry, we ask, who am I? The thoughts will come. Then ask yourself, what witnesses these thoughts? Then the thought is coming, use that to look within. Don't worry about pushing the thoughts away. Don't judge the answer of the thoughts. Just judge. What witnesses that? Then some sensation can come. Feel constricted, something. What witnesses that? Then some openness can come. What witnesses that? So don't rely on any thought or any sensation to make a conclusion about yourself. So in this way we inquire.
There is this nothingness that comes, or there are the answers that come.
Yes.
But
What do you want?
Wait. So this either nothingness or answer. What witnesses that?
answers, there is a witness, but nothingness, there is no witness also. There is no witness also. For
Check
nothingness.
now.
Now only answers in mind is coming.
Okay, what is witnessing that?
There is witnessing happening.
To who is it happening?
Me.
Which one? Which me? Is this something you saw, this me, or something you just inferred? Go very slowly, take your time.
I don't know what the me. There is witnessing.
Yes, witnessing. Are you there? Have you gone away or are you there?
Here.
You are there. At what distance are you from this witnessing?
There is no distance.
But there is no distance. Is there a distinction?
There is
Tell me the distinction. So something which is no distance stuck together, then one is the me and one is the witnessing. Tell me about this one. The me.
The witnessing is like the overview.
Okay, it is the overview, and the me is what?
Me is the
Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I can guarantee you that this me is just a presumption.
one is an overall perspective, one is the limited perspective.
Okay, what looks at both? So to see overall perspective and limited perspective, somebody must be seeing it or something must be seeing it. Who's seeing it?
Overall perspective is seeing it.
Okay. Then how is it telling you about it? So you say the overall is seeing the limited. So how is the overall telling the limited? How you found this? It is, you're saying it is second hand, no? That I'm not the overall perspective, I am the limited one. Therefore, it must be telling me in some way what it is seeing. It's like your sister is seeing something, and she is telling you that this is what's happening, and you're repeating that. Right? You're probably not in the same class, so you couldn't have cheated in the exam. But is she finding this overall perspective and telling you, is somebody else? Tejas is telling you? Who is finding it?
Why does it feel like both perspectives are simultaneously present?
Yes. Yes. But what is your greater position, your truer position? Awareness is playing as consciousness. It is only awareness. playing as if in its dynamic form. So all of this will also be present. But that which is aware of all of this is not contained in all of this. You see? That is why you have all this imagery of Shiva and Shakti and Yin and Yang and all of this. But what is your true position? What is it that remains unchanging?
Witnessing is unchanging.
Now, if all that is changing goes away, do you go away with that? You say that the witnessing is unchanging. Therefore, all the rest is changing. So when the changing goes, do you also go? So if you don't go, and only this witnessing awareness is the unchanging, then what would you say is your truest position?
A little doubt there, Father.
Say,
When that nothingness is there, even there is nothing at all. Then everything is gone away. Right? There is nothing.
and nothing is there.
So even that is not. That nothingness was there is perceived afterwards.
Was it perceived afterwards? Or was it conveyed afterwards? How can you perceive something afterwards?
I see.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? This is very important. And even if many are not understanding, this point is very subtle. We can say that nothing was there. You see?
Yes.
But you were there to see that nothing was there. Can you have the perception afterwards?
Yeah, but it feels like you just realized nothing was there for the last half an hour, 1 hour. Okay, afterwards.
Yes. So that let's take the example of sleep.
Yes.
When the waking happens, then we can say that, oh, in sleep nothing was there. But for this I have to refer to a repository of past experience or whatever we have to say. You see? But the perception of, that awareness of that nothingness cannot happen later.
I understand. It is not clear to the mind.
Exactly. Because the mind cannot fathom that the possibility of your existence beyond existence itself, before I am, is an unknown concept for the mind.
The mind will not get it, so it doesn't matter.
What it says, what's it's certifying you as, got it or not got it, doesn't matter. Its certification is immaterial. It's like you're applying for a job for the head of DRDO or ISRO or something, and you have your nursery school certificate. It doesn't matter. The interview, what are you doing? The mind will have that kind of certificate. That doesn't matter, and we can laugh about it. But you will be surprised as to how many of us are still waiting for the mind certificate of freedom. I come and say every day, you are free now, you are free now, you are free now. But, it's just the mind certificate that you're waiting for. I'm happy you're seeing that it is worthless because it cannot fathom the birth of its grandfather. Mind is just a tiny aspect of consciousness.
Father, the awareness being the overview or this thing is also a concept, right?
Yes.
Because that's one way we get stuck.
Yes.
Awareness
All concepts.
Instant, right?
Yeah.
Everything.
Even this distinction, qualitative distinction between the hand and the finger, awareness and consciousness, the noumenal, the non-phenomenal, and the dynamic or the phenomenal, is also a conceptual distinction that we make in satsang, just to make the point clear. And ultimately, even this is thrown away. So whether Guruji will call it isness or you call it the self,
being with self is just being open to this moment fully.
And being close to this moment is also being with the self.
I understand.
You cannot leave the self.
No,
When consciousness, then we have to start using these conceptual boundaries, which means that when the dynamic aspect is just open to this moment fully, or in the inquiry gets an insight about its source, that is that moment of waking up in the waking state or the awakening moment.
So when I hear the instruction, just be with the self, marinate in the self.
You don't pick up the pretense of something that you are not. Then we simply put it like, even if you do, you are the self only, but you will pose as if you are something else. This is why we call it the play of consciousness.
Father, the pretense is already picked up.
No.
Okay.
The pretense is dropped naturally every moment. I'm happy we are having this conversation because in this are the primary doubts which we can get stuck with. Show me what is picked up. Without going to a thought, is something picked up? Naturally, in your original state, are you Soumya? So pretense is not picked up.
Nothing there without that.
So you need a notion of being somebody to pick up the pretense. That's why the mind has the tougher job.
So the rapid movement of mind, before we realize it picks up, makes it feel like it's always picking up.
Yes. Just because the habit has been nurtured for so long that the smoker is now saying that I can't help it, I have to pick up the cigarette. Once you come to the rehab as you're coming, then you will find that hand is moved. Sometimes hand picks up, sometimes hand just withdraws. So belief is one of the primal forces that consciousness has created for itself as part of this play. And now consciousness is withdrawing belief from its individual identity. You want to go?
If the consciousness is deciding to withdraw, not in a climax way that you were talking about, it happens at different pace for different individuals.
Yes.
So the individual also has the individual mind or whatever has a role to play to say, okay, enough of all this. It's not just the consciousness can't be partial to the entire humanity, right? It's like it is.
No, what I'm saying is that is individual an actual tangible existence. Like, can you show me the individual?
As far as I see, the consciousness level is different amongst the entire humanity. And some people are more inclined for satsang, some people are at very evolved stage, some people are completely not even thinking about it.
Yes. So, just because the movie has many characters, does it make it that let's look at it as animation. You could have drawn out hundreds of characters, each at Donald Duck is different from Mickey Mouse, and both have different interests, different things that they want to do. You see, but the light of the projector is the same. So, are you that character, or are you the light? In your expression, all of this is there. But when you come to satsang, we are open to this question that am I an object in this world? Am I really an object in this world? Or could it be that it is the other way around? The world is an object in me. And you don't have to have had the insight of this, but at least we must be open to this question. And if it seems like too far out or something like that, then this might not necessarily be the best satsang to come to. So just this much openness has to be there that am I really this person? And if there is constant belief in this person identity, then is there some real basis to that belief? Otherwise, we keep on working on improving the person, becoming a better person, all of that, which has its place in the world. But there are millions and millions of places who are telling you how to become better people. This is one place where I'm saying, can we question that basic presumption that you are a person firstly? So, and that I don't know is a little bit scary. I don't know is a little bit scary. So we don't know, in response to that fear, what the next move is going to be from consciousness. If you can find that I don't know, and yet something is open to the looking, then you will see all these words that I'm saying are not some fantasy. When I'm saying that you are that light of this universe, it will be your direct tasted experience. But initially, that fear of losing the identity will come. And once we see that I am not a person, there is no individual entity here, the myth about so many people in this world will also start to dissolve. Can it be that only I am not a person? It cannot be. Like someone went to Guruji long time ago and she said, I can see that I am not a person, but I cannot believe that my husband is not a person. But once you really see that there is no individual entity here, all has been display of light and sound of consciousness itself. That's why we call it the Leela. The Leela of God. We also have seen that not a blade of grass in this Leela moves unless it is the will of God. So what is the personal, even if the person was there, what would be its role? If even the blade of grass is moving with the will of God, what is the person's role? If every dialogue which is going to come from the actor's mouth is going to be the will of consciousness, what is the person's role? Every hand movement is going to be the will of God. What is the person's role? So it is something that we have learned. We have learned to become a person. We've been taught by people around us, our parents, and this mind has constantly taught us that we are a limited entity, we are this person. And now as we are checking, all these notions will fade away. Just a little sliver of openness and you will see. Here, I don't say to anyone, believe my words. You don't have to believe my words. You just have to take one or two lines which you feel find some resonance in your heart with them and just look and check if it is true. This much is self-inquiry. We can sometimes, I know you're in your family, you have to stalwarts of self-inquiry or something, so they might be like, I'm not so attracted to this path or something, but self-inquiry is nothing like this. It's just simply just checking. Ananta said he has $1,000 cash prize for anyone who can show him the person. So can I win this prize? Let me produce this person which I believe myself to be and get $1,000 easy, you know. This much is self-inquiry. Who am I?
Whether
Mm-hmm.
it feels like that, yes, and there is no person, everything is the will of God, then it is just a false interpretation, which is changing as per whatever
Yes.
God wants to.
And
do.
also this delusion is part of the will of God.
Is also will of the
Yes.
God. And even after understanding this, it feels like that under various situations, it has to be confirmed again and again. Yes, right
Which
now
is also the
it's
will of
not
God.
there. Yes.
That's why I said it doesn't want the movie to end abruptly. I say take this example often, isn't it? You go for this movie and the villains are winning in the beginning. You see, all this for years they've tortured the protagonist, hero or heroine has been really suffering at the hands of the villains for 1.5 hours. Then does the movie end in one scene? Finished. The hero comes and kills off. It doesn't. You see, there's steps. He does this. He makes a plan. He does like that. So it's taking the joy from this, stepping out from this delusion also. It is experiencing itself. I was believing myself to be like this. Now it's opening itself. It's enjoying that joy. And even that, it doesn't happen in a templatized, generalized way. In every expression, in a different way. You see? So we can make some broad generalizations. But you cannot really say it has to come out this way. Because otherwise what I would do is tell everybody exactly what happened in the life here for the 10 years or 7-8 years that I called myself a spiritual seeker. Say, first I went here, first I went there, I did so much Sudarshan Kriya, I did so much Hatha Yoga, I did so much chanting, make a prescription out of that and say, here, this is how I got it. Then ultimately found my father in Satsang. Yeah, so you have to do all that and one day show up in Tiruvannamalai and wait for Guruji's form to appear. Every fingerprint is different.
But I'm saying after that, after once you know that you're not this,
Yes.
then after the high voltage, as you go through the high voltage situation, the scene seems more authentic and more authentic.
But what did I say? Drop the
Even
one
with
who's
that is
tracking.
also-
Drop the one who's tracking, whether it is more or less or what the quality of it is. Be notionless.
Yes, there is a tendency here maybe to
Leave that also. This is actually the meaning of don't believe your next thought. It's just like be notionless. Whatever it is being offered up, even if it feels like it's a very authentic report card, it will just become a notion about yourself. We do not know. That's what I was saying. How consciousness will choose to play in this moment, nobody knows. And the minute you pick up a notion, I have this, or I have this tendency, or I am like this, then we are again labeling concept on consciousness, labeling a limitation on consciousness. You see this?
Father, if the body gets sick, it's like a contraction into.
Who wants to solve all this now?
Father, it's so hard.
For?
You
Advaita police you today. Full on Advaita police.
limited entity thinking gets really strong with one little cough.
Who's keeping track?
This has been a long-term fear, Father, for me.
For who?
For me. It's just that one small thing starts and then I feel I'm gonna
Forget.
It's just that.
Just forget.
In the time. No, Father.
This is the attraction of our notions. I am saying this moment is your new life. There is no Soumya here. It's gone. See, it's very good. Actually, we are enjoying this because this is how it operates. Like the mind came and told me one day, and in the middle of inquiry, everything became quiet, no notion. And he came and said, "Stop all this. I'll give you a good life." You see? We'll come up with all these things. I want that. I'm saying you are that, and the mind is saying, "I want that." Is it a worthy notion? What are you willing to exchange my words for? Okay, let me put some emotional blackmail. Which notion from your mind are you willing to exchange my words for?
You.
I am saying you are free. There is nothing to be done. There is nowhere to go. No Soumya has ever lived.
I want these words to be real every moment.
They are real every moment. It is true. I am not lying even a little bit.
That's it. Yes.
It is a circle of life. One daughter is leaving today, one daughter has come back today. Life always continues to play in this way. Maybe opens the door a bit, fresh. If somebody doesn't have a cold or
Should I turn it on? Nine? Minimum. Oh, okay, as you need.
Just asking everyone.
As you need.
Father, can you talk more about what do you mean by what do we really know? What do we really know? Like sun rising from the east. Yes. Do we really know? We have a concept of it. We have a perceptual experience of it. What is the okay, you want the full what do we mean by knowing? You can have a concept that the sun is so many miles away from the earth. Or you could have a concept that there are so many trillion stars in the sky. Just a concept. Nobody has counted the trillions of stars. It's a concept from credible sources. It's a concept that we picked up. Now another credible source can come tomorrow. Is the next greatest scientist or whatever can come and say, no, actually there are not so many trillions of stars. There are only 10 million. You can have a new concept. So in this way, why I'm sharing all this is because a lot of us, we feel like we are spiritual because we have a lot of spiritual concepts. But it's not a true knowing. It's just concept. There is a soul, there is a God, there's some concept that we can have. And okay, it makes us feel better, whatever reason we might have for having that concept. So this is one conceptual knowing, this concept. Don't have a direct taste of it, even phenomenal. The second is perceptual knowing, that which our senses are bringing to us. That there is a coconut in front of me, there's a computer, all of you are sitting here, it's being perceived. But if you ask the scientists, if you ask those who are into quantum physics, they'll say all of this is just projection. None of this, it's all empty space actually. You're just seeing some play of light, play of sound. So the scientists now will question our perceptual knowing. So we can't trust them. Then, what is emotion, emotional knowing? I'm feeling so sad. Then this moment I'm feeling so happy. Just these changing emotions. So what is that which is prior or more original than all of this knowing? To know your existence, which of these did you use? Do you need a concept, I exist, to exist, or to know that you exist? The concept. Did you see a visual of this existence? Did you hear the existence? Did you taste it in that way? Is it an emotion you felt? So what is it that knows? What kind of knowing is that? It knows my existence and knows that this knowing is, I know it's at some point it might become a bit subtle. So not only is the knowing of this existence, but knowing that there is a knowing of whatever it might be, including existence. Knowing itself. Awareness is always self-aware. It is never forgotten itself. It's just the knowing of itself alone, actually. So this knowingness, which we usually call awareness, is not about phenomenal conceptual knowing, phenomenal perceptual knowing, or emotional. That which is prior to all of this, that knowingness itself is what I mean. So we cannot really, all this phenomenal type of knowing, we cannot really rely on. There is no truth, which is the unchanging truth about this. But what about this knowingness itself, that which knows your existence? No concept is needed, no perception is needed, no emotion is needed. That's why I say, when I ask you the question, are you aware now? Did you have to refer to a concept, a perception, an emotion to come to the yes? So since we opened the door, the sound quality is so maybe we just ask them. Is it better now, or is it because the fan is on? Just close. Background noise must be the fan. You feel like playing some bhajan? I feel like I'm a bit tired of hearing this Ananta's voice for a bit. Play some bhajan, we can sing some bhajan. Okay, our lead singer is out. Yeah. You want to refer to this? Just pick up the tripod.
Sorry. Sit on a fruit. Oh, you can see my hair.
Come on, family, want to sing a bhajan? Both daughters are here.
Very happy.
Very happy to sing or just be.
No, the song is only a piece.
How do you describe this phenomenon of the consciousness is enjoying its source and wanting to praise the source as it's all its love? That's how it is.
What is the sweetest play you can play?
Sweet.
Within the belief of your limitation. What is the sweetest play?
What somebody is saying, why to let go of the sweetness? I've heard somebody say, why to let go of the sweetness because it's so sweet that that duality also is kept because of the sweetness. And it's that has to be shared, isn't it?
as long as this human existence is there, there's bound to be some conditioning. And if that conditioning becomes love for the master, Sadguru, then what sweetest existence can you have? When existence goes, everything will go anyway. Because this is not born out of any personal desire. It's not expecting anything in return. This love for the master is not about what is the master going to give me in return. It's more a gratitude. Just to be at your feet has been such a blessing in this life that I can't even come close to asking you for anything else. Just the moment of the darshan cleaned up all arrogance, cleaned up all humility, cleaned up everything that was here. Now let this body just be yours. Thank you all so much for being in Satsang today. Sadguru Shri Muji Baba ki Jai.
Guru Sri Ananta-Part.
Jai.